all CEOs, me included, we don't actually know what we're doing.
They're all sharks, so all you got to do, though, is know shark behavior.
I don't think we've ever talked about this before, guys.
We can capture all of the wallet share.
First place you start is with the product.
That's just the first nut.
This is the Capital Stack. Hey everybody, this is David Paul, the host of the Capital Stack podcast, where we talk to founders, operators, and investors about all things value creation in startups. Today, I am talking to my man, Shawn, over at Talkatoo. Talkatoo is a software as a service platform vertically focused on the veterinarian agency, or veterinarian customers. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm great, David. I'm just all settled in. We had a epic start to this recording, and I'm ready to do this.
Yeah, no, so I'm in this co-working space, and I'm so excited because I'm in actually a real podcast room, and there's nice padded walls and really expensive equipment. I'm supposed to block it out, which I didn't do because I don't like people telling me what to do. And I just kind of went in here. And then I smelled a cup of coffee all over this really nice equipment. So,
yeah, it was a hell of a way to get this episode started.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think my karma's super high, but I butchered the intro. Shawn Wilkie of Talkatoo, software as a service, focusing on veterinarians and workflows within veterinary medicine. So, Shawn, tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you want to do Talkatoo.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for the question, Dave, and thanks for having me. So I think we are going to go back to 2017. I'm running a company working with Nuance Communications, and we've taken their human medical product and adapted it to the veterinary field. And so we took their Nuance's Dragon Medical, added a bunch of vet words, changed the way that the software got installed, and created this product. And there was a ton of interest, and we were growing, and we had customers all around the world. We were attending veterinary trade shows all over the planet. And we had a customer come to us and said, "Hey, Shawn, we want to buy 200 licenses of your software." And that would have been 200 times 2,000. You're a good guy with math. So what do we got there, David? It was a big, big, big opportunity. Calculator's not open. So anyways, it was a big opportunity. And they said, "What can you do for a discount?" And we said, "We'll get right back to you." And so we went to try to get a discount, and we got a 5% discount, and they laughed at us. And so at that point, I was like, okay, this company really doesn't make sense. We're not going to be able to scale it. And I didn't like the software that we were selling because in 2017, we were shipping boxes in the mail that had CDs when nobody even had a CD-ROM in their computer anymore. And it just I didn't see an end game for the company. And so having been a multi-time founder and created a couple of companies, I thought to myself, probably it's a good time to exit. And so I exited. I love the veterinary vertical. I love the customers. And so I went to work about a month after that exit, which was only a tiny one, but it was still a win, to trying to figure out, can we build a better mousetrap? Can we take some of the technology that's out there and build a piece of software that would allow me to be in control of the destiny as opposed to a partner with another company? That was how we got started.
Okay, so Nuance, which is the big gorilla in the human healthcare space, Microsoft bought them for a boatload of money, but they do scribing and I guess auto dictation for medical groups. And you said that there was an offshoot of that licensed IP from Nuance that you founded and sold. What was
It wasn't an offshoot. It was my company, mine and a couple of other co-founders. It was called Dragon Veterinary. It still exists today. And they're a partner, a reseller partner of Nuance's that we built a little tiny piece of software that installed over that piece of software that adapted it to the veterinary vertical. And so we found the opportunity, and it was a big one. And so we thought to ourselves, like, I thought to myself and my co-founder, maybe we can build something. At the time, Google was coming out with speech APIs. It was their very first one that they ever came out with. Microsoft, Amazon, all of the large tech companies have come out with speech APIs. And we took Google's API and built a business around it, which allowed us to adapt it to the veterinary world. And we've been doing it now since 2019. And, we're 4,000 users deep and growing every month.
That's awesome. So why did you sell the last company's product on-prem?
It was nothing to do with us. It was what was available as a reseller. And so it was a local installed software product that ran on the desktop, and hence the CDs in the mail. Yeah,
I think I remember Dragon from years. Is it the same Dragon?
Yeah, well, they have a bunch of different divisions, right? They've got professional and legal and all of them. Yeah. And it's a great product.
Yeah. So you made a software as a service specifically for the veterinary industry, and you were doing the same essential use case, which was dictation within veterinary practices.
Yes, sir.
Now, you did something that's extremely difficult, which is trying to build a product that gets installed into workflow. So, being the challenge of that, and you're also selling into a market that's pretty fragmented, has a lot of SMBs. How did you, get that the proverbial product market fit?
Well, it was interesting because when we started the company, we knew that it was there, right? We knew that there was this pent up demand to expedite medical record keeping inside the veterinary space. So we were lucky. We kind of knew that there was a business before we even started the business because of the last experience. And so, that we started with those cards. So most companies don't get to start kind of knowing product market fit, knowing what you should do. What we had to do is build a solution that could be used by anybody, that was simple and easy to use. And then, after you get your first 10 customers, which we got at a trade show in Reno, Nevada, I'll never forget, we definitely hadn't perfected the product and it wasn't finished. But we went to sell it anyways. And after we did that, 1 week after, we had a functional product, and we had users that were driving, our roadmap. It was me and 2 developers at the time, so it wasn't a big team. But we knew that if we just continued to listen to our users and continue to evolve the product in a way that made their work easier, then we would hopefully be able to build a business, and that's what we did.
So did you, when you said that there was I guess awareness of dictation within medical groups, are you talking about the Dragon type software that had some type of penetration in the market that was meaningful?
Yeah, it was small, but it was meaningful. People had heard about it. The message was starting to get out.
I heard it. A boot. I heard it. I heard
that's
the
right.
accent. Got
the token Canadian. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm not. I would apologize, but I'm trying to be anti-Canadian today. No, I'm joking. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I don't. Yeah. Look at you. Are you Canadian too? Yeah. So that's the story. So we just we started to sell it and listen to our customers, and there's been a ton of evolution of the product. We started with a single product that worked on Windows. Now we have a product that works on Mac and then PC and Android and iOS, and just keep building out the vision that I had, which was that people should be able to have the same speech enabled experience on any device, any internet connected device, and it should operate the same way. It should be easy to use. It should be predictable. And we kind of, I guess, wanted to be a bit like the McDonald's of speech recognition. And that served us quite well, because we allow people to use it on whatever platform they're comfortable with and switch back and forth between different platforms. So you might use a Mac at work and a PC at home, and we don't care. That's totally fine for us.
So there is still an on-prem element to this. Is that just necessary for the product?
We have a local install that runs on the desktop. It's very lightweight. It's for the software people out there, which I'm sure most people are, it's like less than 100 megabits, and it's connected to our cloud backend, and all of the processing happens in the cloud, and the desktop is literally like kind of like the remote control. It's not much is happening on the desktop. It's all in the cloud.
Awesome. Cool. And then the veterinary business exploded.
Yeah, how lucky, right? We're running down the road, not knowing what we're doing, like most founders, and we find ourselves in a situation where there's 4 or 5 times as many pets and the same number of vets, and everybody's looking for efficiency, and that's exactly what we do. We allow people to get through the documentation part of their day quicker, and so we had 39% growth, 19% growth, or 39 times growth, 19 times growth in those pandemic years when everybody was looking for ways to do more with less. And, since 2019, we've been growing every single month.
Got it. And so do you feel, I just feel like dictation, I mean, we just talked about Dragon, right? Being so old, it's more of a mature industry, but yet it feels like it's just getting this big breath of fresh air. And I'm not sure if that's just because it's a market shift. Labor cost is higher, so they're making less margin and they have to do more. How do you think about that?
That's a great question. I definitely completely agree that it's an old line item. Dictation's been around for a long time. Before dictation, there was transcription. Before transcription, there was dictaphones. The world that I live in has had almost a couple of, new beginnings. Same general principle, new technology powering it. And then again, here we are with, LLMs and ChatGPT, and all of these things show up. And I think they're the most exciting thing that's happened in this space in a very, very long time, because what we all want when we dictate, and tons of us do it on their phones or whatever device we have right now. But what we want is we want to be able to give the technology a thought, and we want the thing that comes out the other side to be better than what we said. Like it's a strange thing, because oftentimes we'll have this conversation with customers and they'll be like, well, it's not as good as I expected it to be. And then I'll say, well, if it types out every word that you said exactly how you said it, how is that not as good? And their response will be, when I read it, I can see that maybe I should have said it a different way, or I can make it better. And so oftentimes the challenges with dictation is that we actually have a higher expectation than what is delivered. And that's not unique to my product or anybody else's product. And I think this new breath that showed up when generative AI showed up is the ability to arrive at a better place than what we expected it to be. So if you can imagine, dictating into ChatGPT and saying, clean that up, make it sound better. You can do that today. You can do that with our product and any other product. There's companies like ours and others that are driving towards building these features into their dictation apps so that what you get is better than perfect. It's actually better than you could have ever imagined, because now you're able to layer in all of this contextual information, all of these layers of that LLM to actually produce something at the other end that's better than what you said, which is pretty damn exciting. I said
it's almost too good. I mean, I blog and I'm just like, you need to make this worse, like, because people are going to find me out.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I sent an email out yesterday to a large corporate customer of ours. They represent hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue for our small startup every year. And I copied my co-founder and the entire leadership team of my company. And they, two of them wrote back and said, really nice email. And I've never got an email from anybody that I ever work with that said, really nice email. So it was just bizarre. And then I wrote back and I said, me plus Talkatoo plus ChatGPT equals magic. And and I think that's why this industry that I'm in is so exciting, and why it feels like there's this big, deep breath of fresh air that is just going to supercharge this world that I'm kind of living in the middle of.
Do you think people, I don't know, for me, like, I think the products are incredible. I do feel, I don't know, guilty, right? Sometimes of utilizing its power. I'm not sure if that's a bad thing. Do you think people care if things are coming from an enhanced learning language model?
I mean,
less authentic.
I guess maybe the thing that I would focus in on is what's the what? You know, if it's an email that's well thought out and explains exactly what you're trying to convey, I think that for the receiver is way better than getting an email that is hardly legible, that is discombobulated and doesn't effectively communicate what was meant to be communicated, which, you know, I guess I'll call myself out here. That's what my emails used to look like. You know, as a founder, things are going by quick, I think really quickly, and sometimes I don't communicate effectively over writing. And so that problem has now gone away from me, and everybody that's on the other side of the emails that I send out is better for it. They've got something that they can understand. If it's a research paper that maybe has massive impact on the people that are reading it, and they go to the author thinking that they're the top source for that information in the world, and they find out that they're dealing with a bit of an airhead, then maybe that's a problem. So I think it depends on what it is what the person on the other end is expecting, and why they've gone to that thing that might have been enhanced with generative AI in the first place. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it makes a ton of sense.
So if you're reading Dave's blogs and
it's half me, right? I write what's in my head, and then it makes it sound better.
But what the hell's the problem with that, right? Like, all you're doing is helping the people that want to consume that information, making it easier for them to understand. And the reason that they're reading the blog in the first place is because they want to learn. So I don't have a problem with that, and I don't think many people would.
It's almost like a calculator, right? Like, does anyone care if I solve a math problem with a calculator versus write it out?
Yeah, I mean, and like, that's a really great segue to what I'd like to say next, which is this will evolve, right? Like, you know, the conversations that I'm having internally with like my engineers and my astrophysicist that works for me is like, we can either be part of this thing and learn with it and grow with it, or we cannot and think that we can be better and then watch our competition drive past us so fast that we can't even pick out the color of the car.
So what's going on in the vet industry right now?
Well, it's a bit bananas. This pandemic puppy. So thank you to all of the people that listen to David's podcast that have bought a dog in the last 3 years. Really appreciate it. This pandemic puppy problem that no one thought would be a problem has created an overwhelming demand for veterinary services. And the veterinarian industry is struggling to just stay above water. Because if you can imagine, if you're a house painter and you live in a town with 100 people and you have enough business with those 100 people to keep yourself busy all year long, and then all of a sudden, 10,000 homes are built, that's kind of what's going on. It's just there's been a massive supply and a massive demand for those veterinary services, and there's just no supply. So it's really an interesting time to be in an industry that is literally on fire. And it's a stressful place to be. It's life and death. It's not life and death of humans, but it's life and death of pets. And the other thing that I think is fascinating, David, is like, we have kids, you and me both. People 10 years younger than us have mostly decided not to have kids. And so they've got a puppy instead, and their puppy is their child. And this idea of the humanization of the pet is one that's like front and center of the veterinary medicine world. These fur babies are really important to the millennial generation and the Gen X generation, and they really care about their health and well-being. And so spending money on their fur babies is totally something that they want to do. They want to give them the best life possible. And that has also contributed to this boom in the pet health world. It's absolutely wild. And when we started this company, I could have never predicted that.
I'm going to be the first person that coined this, right? And I'm going to allow you to take it, right? This brilliant piece of insight is in 10 to 15 years from now, we're going to have the equivalent of the baby boomers for pets. We're going to have an aging issue because they're all going to be at end of life, and it's going to be like this sporadic like increase. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, we should ask ChatGPT. There is a ton of demand. What about, so do you think that the demand is overpowering the kind of, and I'm looking at this from a finance angle because I'm a nerd, because like I know there's like this feeding frenzy on acquisitions of veterinary hospitals where they're paying 15, 20x on subscale type operations because it's a mom and pop cottage industry, right? I mean, is there any panic with recuperating that investment or paying that investment off at the demand? And how do you think about that? Or do you think about that? Do you even care?
Yeah, I do think about it. And, once again, when you start a company, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I think, luck favors the prepared mind, but there's always luck. And once again, I think it's lucky for us. So you have all of this private equity money that's gone into these large consolidator companies that are acquiring these hospitals. All of a sudden, that money's got super expensive. Now, what would you do if you were running a business that all of a sudden had a bunch of costs increase because of cost of capital? You'd look for efficiency. Guess what? That's what we do. It's kind of a lovely place. Once again, luck, so everybody's looking to make these operations as efficient as possible. And that's exactly what we do. We sell efficiency through our dictation product and through our fully managed kind of software assisted services model. So we take it one step further at Talkatoo. We have a product called Verified by Talkatoo, which is always interesting. Like the product market fit piece is like, listen to your customers. What do your customers want? Our customers never want to do another medical record again. And we look to other industries, what's happened in human health. Nuance, you said it early on in the show. They have scribes. They have applications where people are able to dictate into their device. And so we've done that for the veterinary health industry as well. A veterinarian can dictate into their phone. It goes back to our team of veterinary technicians that work at Talkatoo. And then with magic, we make sure it gets into the medical record. And they never have to do another medical record again. And so, I think everybody's going to continue to look for efficiency until the demand for the services quiets down. But I think that's probably 4 or 5 years away.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's almost like you can kind of, depending on, I guess, the debt service, the EBITDA, I don't know. I guess it all depends on the debt, right? Are there covenants on the debt with EBITDA? But again, it's just like the demand is just so strong.
Yeah.
So what's in the future for Talkatoo in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we're really focused on not having to raise capital, which is, I guess, how we started to talk with each other. We're really focused on making sure that we kind of get to the point where we're not burning any capital. And I think we're probably 6-8 months away from that. And then once we get to that point, where we don't need to raise capital, we'll probably go raise some more capital and grow the business again. I think that's what's in store for us.
And do you think it's going to be in vet, or do you think you're going to go out of vet?
I think eventually we'll go out of vet. Yeah, we've built a bunch of tools that can be applied to any industry. But for the foreseeable future, we're not going anywhere. And I think it really, like, one of the things that I've learned that, like, probably not until I was 40 is focus is actually a pretty good tool for an entrepreneur. And so, that's so that served me well in the last 2 years. And, specifically, in the last 1 year, we had a lot of conversations. Are we ready to go into another vertical? And like, this vertical is hopping. There's tons of demand. Mm-hmm. We've got 4% market penetration. To go anywhere else at this point would be an irrational decision. So we'll be here for the foreseeable future. And then hopefully at some point with a bunch more money, we'll go out and get into another vertical.
Yeah. And where do you think there's other efficiency opportunities within vet? Like, where's the puck going?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good one. But I mean, the thing that is scarce in vet med is human resource, right? So anything that can lessen the requirement for a human resource. And it's not just veterinarians that are short. They're short veterinary technicians, receptionists, people that have experience running a veterinary hospital. Every single position in a veterinary hospital has a labor shortage right now. So if we can find other areas of efficiency with software, with AI, with anything, that is where the opportunities are. It's to lessen the requirement for that human resource. So whether it's systems to chatbots to automate conversations with pet owners, to do teletriage or other areas that can be outsourced off of those resources that are in the hospital, that's where I think we'll see big opportunities. Like the pandemic showed everybody that telehealth could be a thing. And it's really a shame because it's not as much of a thing as it should be still. There's still massive opportunities there. And I think that you will see companies rise to the occasion, and even some of these consolidators get that kind of remote / on-site model perfected. And I think whoever does that first has a lot to gain, because if you have an overwhelmed system and you can take some of the access capacity and put it somewhere else with an outsourced company or with a company that's fully remote, I think there's some incredible opportunities for efficiency gains there and capacity building, because the thing that all of these large corporate groups are trying to do is increase their capacity, because they have existing customers and they have this whole supply of new customers. And so whoever is going to be able to service these customers in the most effective, timely way has a lot to win right now. Mm-hmm. And I think software, I think, these LLMs, I think AI, I think all of these things are going to find their way into veterinary medicine, because there's no easy solution for most of the problems that exist. And it's pretty exciting time to be in this industry.
Awesome. Cool. Shawn, thank you so much for coming on. I have a couple of questions. Who else should I interview that's really interesting?
That's a good question. Let me think. So I've got a buddy. He's another entrepreneur. He's another AI nut like me. His name is Sebastian Gabor. He runs a company called Digitail. He's coming on. Yeah, well, he's a good dude. So I would highly recommend him. I chatted with a guy in the UK the other day. I mean, most of my day now, David, is spent kind of down this AI rabbit hole. So Ollie's the guy's name, and I'll shoot you his contact. He's a developer over in the UK, building really interesting software for just kind of communication, pet parents to the practice, and they do it using like Messenger and WhatsApp and Instagram messengers, and allow people to operate and kind of interact with the clinic on their own terms, using whatever technology is already installed in their phone. I think it's kind of brilliant. So he's a really neat guy. I mean, there's such a friggin' list, Dave, because I have a podcast called the Vet Innovation Podcast. So I could give you 30 friggin' people in the vet industry alone. My buddy Tom Jenkins at PetsApp, he's a really neat founder. Was the veterinarian for a bunch of Buddhist monks that had a bunch of Siberian tigers over in Thailand. So he's a neat guy.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. So I could give you a list, but there's a couple for you.
Awesome. And what is your favorite book?
What is my favorite book? I think that's a great question as well. Look at you with your canned questions. I think Atomic Habits is like probably my most recent favorite book. But I have many, many, many books that are my favorite. Actually, that's not my favorite. My favorite book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. An old one, but a good one.
Yeah, that one's kind of timeless, isn't it?
Man, it's like you read that book and then you read 100 books after it and you're like, this is all the same stuff. This guy started all of this.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that? Because I'm a big proponent of mind, headspace and mindfulness and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Basically, having a really good attitude and really focusing on goals and stuff. And I was listening to another podcast with an investor, and being a capital allocator, it's hard to have goals, right? Because what we do is we put money out and then we take money back in. We don't have, or at least on the venture side, we don't have control when the money comes back in, right? So then it's really money out, or it's AUM. And unless you're in the AUM game, you really can't have an AUM goal, right? Like if you don't care about AUM, like that's not a fact. Then it's, how much money goes out. And I'm not necessarily sure, and I'm biased because I don't do a lot of deals, right? I don't know if that's the best type of thing, because I went out and I had a goal to deploy $3 million last year, and I deployed $0 million. And I think that was a good decision based on, everything I was doing, but I did fund something in January that I worked on. So I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about mindset. That's the word I was looking for. Mindset. Yeah. But,
I mean, it's interesting.
You described it kind of as like an infinite game, like you have to kind of, work with it and think about it and be cerebral.
But it's interesting because I think you can, even in that world, I think you can have those goals. And one of my favorite quotes is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, And I love that so much. And I think about it in direct relationship to your world. You can choose, you choose what entrepreneurs to invest in or what companies to invest in. You also have a second choice after the allocation of capital to really invest time, effort, and energy with those entrepreneurs to see that investment grow or not grow. And, I look at our own investors, our own VCs, and the amount of time that they make for me is, I feel, almost unlimited. And I think that contributes to their goals.
Don't make me jealous with your current investors. I mean, you're hurting my feelings now.
There's still time. As soon as we don't need money, I'll come call you.
Exactly. I'll buy some shares off of you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the Capital Stack. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, download, tell a friend. You can find me, David Paul, or the title of the Capital Stack. And we will see you next week. Drop an episode every Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Capital Stack Podcast. Make sure to share this with someone you know that can benefit from this content. Remember to support this show by rating, reviewing, and subscribing. David Paul is the founder and general partner at DWP Capital. All opinions expressed by David and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of DWP Capital. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for decisions. David and guests may maintain positions in the securities discussed on this podcast.